Mission Amazonia is a cooperative game for 2 to 4 players, spanning over 10 different chapters. And no, there's no lengthy board setup between chapters. All you do is simply turn a page. How cool is that? I know it's not the first game to do that, but I really dig it. Each player will start the game with a deck of 8 cards. They will draw 4 of those cards. And the players, by managing their hands and a little bit of deck building, will be playing these cards to move around the map, attempting to complete certain missions, or maybe thematically more accurate to say stop certain missions from happening. Things such as animal poaching and deforestation. And when a player does get to a location of a mission, and they are able to fulfill the requirements on the bottom of the mission card, which are typically things such as having certain amounts of valor or animal care training, then the mission is a success. And an animal marker of the matching color will be placed on the success track. So say I was able to get to here for mission 1, and I was able to complete it, which I have enough valor to complete this mission, I would then take a blue animal token and put it on the success track. And I bet you can guess what happens once that success track is full. You win. You win the chapter. And all that sounds quite easy, right? Well, not quite. Because if you notice, this mission here that I completed has a little picture of a die in the upper right-hand corner. Well, that is the conflict die. So turns out some of these people that are trying to do these things, such as illegal gold mining, aren't exactly the most welcoming crew. And there will be a conflict when you complete this mission. So you would have to roll the conflict die, and I took a wound. So I would place a wound marker on my character, and hopefully it's not my 3rd wound because, well, you know, dun dun dun, you die. But there are things that you can get, such as protective vest, but more on those in just a moment. So this mission would be removed from the bottom of the board. Now, at the end of a round, any unfulfilled missions that remain at the bottom will then add an animal token of the matching color to the failure track. So in this case, a yellow one. And I bet you can imagine what happens when the failure track gets full of animal tokens. And there's other ways that tokens can be added to the failure track as well, such as when a character should die, you add a token to the failure track. And should you ever be forced to place an animal token that matches the same animal that's already on the failure track, then that animal has been poached so badly that it's in danger of being extinct. And then you would add one of these red list tokens onto the failure track as well. So back to the success track. So you're playing the game, you're doing great, loading up the success track with these animal tokens. Well, you may need to pump the brakes because there are events that occur once you place your 7th and 9th animal token on the success track. And those events, I don't want to spoil too many of them, those events are always bad and they always suck, and the table will always groan every time you reveal one of them because they're all very unfortunate circumstances. But that little dose of dread mid-game does spice up the experience. Prototype copy provided by the publisher, so things are subject to change. Click that subscribe button. Thank you. Appreciate it. I know what you're thinking. Beard, how did you move to that location? You just moved your meeple over there. Well, I'm glad you asked. So let me explain how movement works in this game. Players can play cards from their hand to move. So if I play a river path, that will allow me to move to an adjacent space as long as there is a river there. Or if I play a land path, this card will allow me to move 2 spaces on a paved road. Or it would have allowed me to move 1 space on an off-road trail. For instance, this is an off-road trail, so that would move me over here. And all of these cards do have money at the bottom because you can rent out your vehicles. Basically, you just discard them to get money so that way you can buy even more powerful cards to help you fulfill some of these missions. And some of the special cards that you can purchase are things like the radio listing that allows you to draw more cards. There's also the GPS that gives you basically a wild movement anywhere you want to go. Night vision helps complete missions, and there are a whole slew of them that you will unlock throughout the different chapters of the game. And in addition to those special action cards that you can purchase that get mixed into your deck, there are also support cards that you can purchase, and those are like a one and done perk or benefit that you can purchase. And those will take effect immediately, and you don't have to play any cards. But again, they're only a one-time use. So you have to pay for them each time you want to use them. Except for the recruiting a new team member, that's pretty awesome because you can then have a second meeple on the board and you get a second crew member that will help provide you with some of the things that you need, such as valor or being able to talk to the natives. Because some of the missions will land in these orange-ish spots, and those missions you will have to have a team member there that can communicate with the natives in order to fulfill the mission. And once each player has taken a turn and around, then you check to see if there's any missions left at the bottom of the board, and then you pass the start player token to the next player. And then if you have to put out any new missions, you turn to this interesting little wheel, and this wheel will tell you where the next mission will sprout up. And in this case, it's B5. Which happens to be a location with indigenous people. And then hopefully you fill up the success track before the failure track fills up, and then all you do is turn the page and get ready for your next chapter. And each chapter will have a brief description on what cards will need removed or added or switched out, and any new rules that are added to the game. And it even comes with an annual report sheet to keep track of how well or not how well you did. So that is Mission Amazonia. There's quite a bit of content crammed into that box. And I know this isn't the first game to use a book as the board. Jaws of the Lion comes to mind. I do appreciate that in this game. It's really nice that all you have to do is turn a page, and it's so convenient because all the additional rules and setup for that chapter are right there beside the board. It makes setup an absolute breeze. Before you know it, you'll be getting walkie-talkies and vests for your characters and buying special action cards and completing these missions, stopping all these horrible things, all the kind of things you don't want to happen in the Amazons in Brazil. The rulebook is clear, and that mission wheel disc thing is actually quite interesting because there are predetermined spots on where the missions pop up. So it's not just random with a die roll. There was some thought that went behind it. And it's kind of cool that that wheel conceals where they're coming. So that way, it's kind of a surprise as to where they do pop up. With that being said, later on in some of the missions, some of the locations are only partially known, and you do end up rolling dice to see where they come. So that's kind of a neat switch up in how things operate. And once you fail a mission, which you will likely fail your first mission, the rulebook says that you can start the mission over with an additional $500. Which actually, I guess they're not dollars, or something else. But anyways, you can start the round with an additional 500 bones. That way it gives you a little extra push for purchasing some of those helpful special action cards and the support cards, which both of those are an absolute must if you're going to complete these chapters. Some of these cards are quite helpful, like the protective vest. Those will protect against injuries, and walkie-talkies for moving meeples of another player who also has a walkie-talkie. And once you make it to chapter 4, you get to flip over your player board. And that's when you will unlock experience markers. And you can use those to take special abilities that are printed on your player board. And if you're familiar with some co-op games, sometimes there is an issue with the way the gameplay is designed, that one player is able to kind of quarterback the whole game, and other players are just basically sitting there watching one player play the game essentially solo. I didn't really find that to be an issue with this game. It could be the crowd that I played it with, but I felt like we did sort of communicate and work together without that feeling of one person just taking absolute control of the game. And overall, I feel it is an enjoyable difficulty. Like, it's not super easy, but you do tend to squeak out the victories at the end of the chapter, which is an overall nice feeling. So check out the link below to visit the Kickstarter page on this one coming soon. Definitely give this one a look. That's Mission Amazonia. And as always, thank you for watching this Kickstarter preview on Rolling with the Beard.